Hello and welcome back to Podcasting as Praxis. I'm David, my pronouns are he and him.
I'm James, my pronouns are they and them.
I'm Jamie, my pronouns are he and him.
I'm Rob, mine are he and him.
And I'm a very beleaguered Alistair, and my pronouns are also he and him.
Hooray, you're back.
But you are alive.
Yeah.
So
By some definitions.
Yeah.
By the grace of Dwarf, you're here.
Yeah, if you want to be a dwarf in my Dwarf Fortress game that I'm currently turning all the patrons into dwarves in, sign up to the Patreon and you can ask me in the channel.
Yeah.
Do that. Receive regular updates about the mental health of your dwarf.
Or the catastrophic death of your dwarf. Either or.
Yeah, also, Alice is available for like fucking Baldur's Gate 3 coaching sessions as well.
Yeah, for a princely £10 an hour.
Yeah.
I wanted to start today's episode by talking about sort of one of the more perennial delights of the UK, and that is that's its housing market, and the continued death drive of politics to keep that thing in the air. So this time it combines delightfully because 'tis the year of the election season. So to keep the housing bubble going, but the Financial Times and other papers have had it now that Jeremy Hunt and Rishi Sunak are now considering a 99% mortgage scheme for first buyers, i.e. you just need to put 1% of like the total cost down, and then you can borrow 99% of your money, of the rest of it. With the idea
of the time,
that
it works every time.
Who exactly has 1% of the cost of a house just lying around?
Well, I mean, like more people have it
money
than
down.
I mean, the answer to that is like more people have it than like 15%, which is sort of the general like money down for first home buyers at the moment.
Yeah, but you could what you could do though is just have an elaborate scheme whereby you can.
There's probably like the most non-alienated labor you'll ever do. Like it'll be the most you'll ever be.
And the hardest bit to edit into this episode.
Yeah. Hope everyone likes 8-bit chip tunes.
So the idea is that like this would be distinct from the Help to Buy scheme, but at least like a proportion of your 99% mortgage will be like underwritten by the government, by the Treasury. I've no idea how much. I couldn't find that out. This is in addition to, if you remember, I think a couple months ago now, we talked about like mortgages of 45-year terms that like could cross generations, where like your parents are also in hog because they put part of the like value of their house into your mortgage.
It's so good that the government have seen the idea of social housing and gone, no, we can't just build houses under our own power. That's impossible. But what we could do is take all of the risk on for a bunch of insane mortgages, because that is sensible management of the country's finances.
Exactly.
I honestly think their approach is quite boring. They should just wake us up when they've got mortgages that inherit to your children, because then we really will be in feudalism again. That'd be the best way to go.
Well, I mean,
I have here a graph, and it runs from 1995 to 2007, and it says that actually this shit's great, so we should do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
can't argue with the numbers, baby.
This is a facts and logic podcast after all. So like these kinds of loans are pretty much like exactly what allowed the pre-2008 bubble to happen. They are, of course, like incredibly risky because like if you think about it, if like you only own 1% of your home, like it only needs to drop in value very, very slightly, like your house, for the mortgage to be worth than like the house itself.
Well, it's not even that though. Like, if you, I mean, look at what happened over the last few years. Like, people have fixed their mortgages with like some non-insane amount of equity in their house at like 2, 3, maybe 4% or whatever, and interest rate, or the Bank of England has said fuck you, and your fixed term has ended, and now you're remortgaging with more equity in your home than you had however many years prior, and people have seen
your payment is still like double.
Like, and you think how much, like, because obviously it's based on the actual capital of the capital that you borrowed in the first place, And if you're borrowing 99% of the value of a house, like, I mean, just call it 250,000, even on like a house that's cheap in, you know, quotation marks, you know, the fucking interest rates going up even slightly, even if you can afford the 1%, are going to be murderous. Just absolutely awful if interest rates move like a few, like, quarters of a percent, right?
Yeah, no, like if you think about it, like the average lifespan of a mortgage, you know, especially one that tends to float more, is like what, somewhere between 20 and 30 years now. Think about like what we've seen in our lifetimes alone. Like it's just fucking wild. Like currently Bank of England rates are like at about 5.25, I think. But what if they like go to 7 or 8, or, you know, like you fix one at 5 and the interest drops back down to 3 because like some other fucking catastrophe has happened. Like it's just
considering the fact that the Bank of England can do one thing and it's waggle the interest rates lever. Like, yeah, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane because, like, basically, like, it especially in areas in London where, like, a lot of, you know, need is for houses, but where the houses are already super expensive, like, even there, this proposal doesn't make any fucking sense, because if you're borrowing 99%, like, there's probably no way on earth that, like, you can just afford the monthly payments anyway, unless you're, like, really fucking far out on the branch and just saying, like, yeah, you know, this sucker will never snap. Like, it's fucking wild. And if you're wondering, like, why are they doing this? Well, the whole idea is to get, like, young home buyers, like first-time home buyers, like young people, therefore, to vote Tory. So basically, like, you get a 99% mortgage on your house and they get another 5 years in power. I think that's a trade worth taking any fucking day of the week.
Yeah, it's the ultimate in, like, short-termist policy, because there is realistically, a very small number of people who are able to afford the £5,000 versus the, like, you know, £50,000 for any kind of property in London. You know, it's a very small number of people, and what does this do? It just creates a bunch of insanely, like, unstable mortgages that are probably going to be fine, I'm sure, in 5 years, whenever these mortgages are set to be renewed.
It's very horrible the way you're talking about this. Where else would you like Dino to park his Audi A3?
Yeah, but, like, even on the other end, like, if you just talk about, like, the repayments, like, if you're a young person now, why would you get, like, that risky mortgage when, like, whoever you work for probably isn't bumping your salary even by the rate of inflation, let alone, like, giving you, like, a proper wage increase? Where are you going to get the fucking money from, like, on a monthly, yearly basis? It's insane. So, like, you know, you're pretty much on the bottom end already of people who could just about not afford a home. So, like, the people who are supposed to be attracted by the scheme are, like, the same people who are at the riskiest end. And, like, why fucking would you? Like, if you're in this sort of precarious category, because I was looking at, like, the help to buy thing as well, and I think even the Tories admit it's only helped like 40,000 people buy a home, which is, like, not a lot of people. That's not a lot of people and not a lot of houses.
Yeah, but what else am I, the bankruptcy hummingbird, supposed to do but sup at the petals of finance wizardry?
Yeah, my mind is just going through all the permutations of that, and I think I love it. I think that's my new favourite metaphor for, like, the financial system of this fucking country. Like, because that's all it is. It's these fuckers moving from bankruptcy to bankruptcy at whatever level and just drinking their fill, and just going tee-hee-hee and darting away whenever anyone tries to kind of put any hands on them whatsoever of any kind of repercussion. Yeah, I like it, David.
Yeah.
Cool.
Also with the same heart rate as, like, the average hummingbird from like just some sort of cocaine that's running, like, fusing through their system. And you know, think about it on, like, the broadest possible side, right? If you're not building new houses, which the Tories are categorically not fucking doing, literally all this does is just, like, you know, is just inflate the housing bubble even more, because you will just pump more money into a system chasing like it, maybe not a constant supply, but, not expanding fast enough to meet the increase, like, volume of money running through it. So all this is doing, like, it's sounding like, this is like for young people so they can do something nice. It's like, no, it's not. The secondary effect is the one they really want, which is like to inflate the value of property prices for like racist dads and landlords everywhere.
Yeah. And then when these do end up getting fucking repossessed, like they'll get auctioned off and it'll be landlords that fucking buy them.
Yeah. But I have good news for you, because Labour has also proposed its new housing scheme.
Fuck off.
Well, we have to talk
Is
about...
Angela Rayner involved?
Yes, she is. She is, because apart from being the shadow minister for levelling up, part of her job also involves housing, I guess. Even though there is a separate shadow housing secretary, so I'm not entirely clear as to who does what.
Presumably they just can't be trusted or something.
The shadow housing secretary builds the houses and then Angela Rayner levels them up. It's like those mobile ads you used to get, where it would like show you a picture of like a fucking old lady and it'd be like gangster level 1, and then it would show you a picture of fucking Tony Montana and gangster level 999. It's like that, but for brickwork.
It really is a sign of the times. You don't even get that quality of ads on Twitter anymore. It's really sad. Anyway, Starmer, while on a visit to somewhere in the Midlands, I think Shrewsbury, they published some quotes
Midlands
beforehand.
Yeah.
It's time for change. My Labour government will be different. We will run a patriotic economy where Britain's interest is centre stage and Britain's hard-working families reap the rewards.
A flag in every wallet.
He can just suck the crabs right out of my fucking crack, quite frankly. Like, what is a patriotic economy supposed to fucking mean?
It means that the monarch will be on all of the money.
Yeah. Whoever the monarch is by the time this recording is released.
Yeah. King's deed,
Yes.
Now we put the monarch on one side, we put the current prime minister on the other. So that way you'll always have Keir Starmer's gurning face within arm's reach of you.
Finally, a use for the penny press machine.
But if you were like in any way like maybe confused as to what's going on here, this is another quote that that
I was
delivered
mildly
to the
confused
press.
by that. I don't know if my reaction gave that away.
So, according to to the press release itself, Labour will quote will deliver a future built in Britain by Britain for Britain.
Okay.
I wonder what their strategy for the British steel industry is at this point in time. Oh, I wonder if it's anything like what's happening right now, which is just to let that shit just go into the ocean.
When they say built by Britain, they mean the entire fucking landmass is going to rise up and like arms are going to come out of it like a transformer, and then it's going to like fucking make a giant sandcastle for everyone to live in.
Look, that's those sound castles. Have you seen the price of those?
That'd be really cool though, like one of those sand castle contests on the beach, but it's like just two giant sky hands making something for you. That'd be kind of mint, actually.
I hope Doggerland rises from the abyss to fight it.
No, the thing that mainly it reminded me of is, you remember, like, I think it was last week by this point, it might have been 2 weeks, where, like, Douglas Murray and the FASH team were, like, teeing off about, like, the reason the housing market's in trouble is because migrants are like, being given the council houses for free. I have a strong feeling that...
I know. Fucking hate Douglas Murray. I don't even know who he is or what he does. His name just comes up. Oh, Douglas Murray said some fucking, like, incredible, like, dumb shit.
Oh, it's the 14 words. Cool.
Yeah. He's one of the fashion open jackets that like was one of the many winners of our Cunt of the Year award.
Yeah, he's a respectable fascist in that he espouses great replacement bullshit.
Is he the one that ate the book?
No, that's Goodwin.
Goodwin.
That's Matthew Goodwin.
All right, okay. Is there a noticeable difference between the pair of them?
One of them didn't eat a book.
Oh, okay.
But if you're wondering how Labour is gonna, do the housing future built in Britain by Britain for Britain,
I told you the landmass is going to transform.
No, they're going to change planning laws, which is going to make it easier to build, and also give council housing even more liberty to work with private developers to build more more council houses. So again, the state is doing nothing.
Wait, it's so fucking. It pisses me off so fucking much that it's like, oh, we're going to encourage the private sector to build the houses. Oh yeah, as if the private sector has not, the entire time it has existed as a concept, done the things that maximizes its profits. So what are they going to do? Are they going to build a bunch of houses and cause the price of houses to crash, or are they going to continue to do what they do, which is drip feed houses in places where they can maximize their returns? They are never going to do anything else. Why?
Yeah, but Alistair, have you considered that
I've dismissed it out of hand.
that many MPs are probably invested in their portfolios into housing manufacturers, etc. So actually, this is the rational decision for them to make for the benefit of, themselves and their class. Here we are.
Actually, they would love for more houses to be built, just very specific ones in specific places and by specific companies. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How long do you think before some tech genius gets into the housing market and we finally get remember there was one massive transformer that supposedly turned into an entire city? How long before do you think someone tries to make Elon Musk tries to make that?
Do you reckon they're gonna? They probably just before that they're gonna suggest building housing out of shipping containers again.
Yeah, again.
Well, I mean, you're not far off in terms of saying what if housing was a big megazord? Because there was recently
Elon Musk's already perfected the big pink tunnel.
What if housing was a fucking transformer though? Your whole city was a transformer, and your landlord's
Mortal Engines.
Your landlord's right, okay, so it's £1,200 a month for this place, but you can see it's really spacey and everything, and when the robot transforms, you just fall out of its dick.
You get pissed out to work every day.
Yeah,
you get crushed between its firm steel buttocks. Hang on, that.
Rob, have you spending too much time on DeviantArt again?
I will not have my authority questioned in this way.
Whole new meaning to I live in a semi.
But you are closer to the Megazord thing than you might have thought, because the Competition Markets Authority did a big study on house building recently, and they have
did it involve Megazords?
Well, they have found information that the big house building companies are, that there is quote unquote evidence of information sharing. So I'm not saying they're a cartel industry, the big 8 house builders, but they could be, according to the Financial Times. I'm not saying this.
But you are saying they're a Megazord.
Yeah, I am suggesting that they could be in the starting phases.
What is a cartel if not secretly a Megazord? But
this is why the war on drugs never works.
When are competition authorities finally going to investigate the Power Rangers? I say, slamming my fist on my desk.
Every time the DEA raid a stash house, it transforms into a robot and pisses them out.
All I'm saying is I can't imagine Zordon's housing policy is going to be much worse than what we've got now.
Yeah, exactly. We welcome our Decepticon overlords.
After 10,000 years, I'm free. It's time to build some fucking council homes.
Well, even when these people do get around to building some council houses, according to the CMA, quote, house builders do not have strong incentives to compete on quality, leading to serious problems such as collapsing staircases and ceilings.
More on this as we get it.
Well, I mean,
this is the best bit about these insane mortgages. You'll be paying them off for the rest of your life, but you'll go through 3 new builds in that fucking time.
What if we standardised Grover House?
Yeah,
we can't possibly meet those standards, Jamie.
You're not that far off, because there was a recent BBC news investigation.
Insulation under every stairway.
Honestly, Rob, the most annoying fucking thing you ever say to me is you're not that far off.
No, it's they found this is in Barking. They found major structural flaws in balconies of like a council housing estate built by the multinational firm Bouygues, UK.
It's pronounced Grover.
After one balcony collapsed and concerns were raised about 3 others. So, like, literally, like, the balconies were crumbling and falling apart. And this is me quoting from the BBC thing. Tests carried out on behalf of the BBC found that materials used in the partially collapsed balcony found plywood that was made from non-durable species and weak glue. It was totally unsuitable for outdoor use and was so susceptible to, and also, therefore, susceptible to decay and collapse, which it, then, of course, did.
What is the world coming to when you can't make your own balcony swimming pool? I mean, I ask you this.
Is the
balcony
landlord
just like me for real?
Is the landlord's response to this to just put up a sign outside that says no fat people?
Well, the landlord, in case you were wondering, in this case, technically the freeholder is the council. So, the council is investigating the council to see if the council's ordered to build some, fake council houses. Well, for now they can. And
the council's very annoyed about this, but also relieved.
But you remember where we started with, Labour making all these promises about building 1.5 million new houses. So, like, the Barking and Dagenham Council, which is responsible for, putting up this shit job together with the multinational construction firm, is not just run by Labour. There's literally no other councillor on that council. It's like there's no Tories, there's no Lib Dems, no Greens, nothing. There's no independents.
I imagine they get so much done.
Yeah, I imagine that's very healthy. Everything is subject to appropriate scrutiny. Everything is held to account. Yeah,
yeah. I bet nobody's dad got a swimming pool built out of that.
And but it could be better because the other thing that Rayner was hyping up this week is that that Labour once again wants to make it even easier to buy your council house. So imagine not only like being able to like buy your council house with a 99% mortgage, but then also have the balcony of doom attached to it. That's going to be an incredible future.
They're also cut the red tape around gold dust. I'm hearing.
Yeah, pretty much. Anyway, so that's your brief housing update, and then I wanted to talk about something which is
housing update. It's fucked still.
Yeah. In terms of things that are fucked, I do want to talk about it because it's not good. Mainly from Scottish legal news this time, and also some other publications, but they can go to hell.
No.
So yeah, the UK's first and only trans judge, Victoria MacLeod. She currently still is quite a senior civil magistrate. She is resigning her post. I'm going to read you a few bits of her resignation letter that were, of course, leaked to the papers. Quote, I have reached the conclusion that in 2024 the national situation and present judicial framework is no longer such that it is possible in a dignified way to be both trans and a salaried prominent judge in the UK. If you were wondering what she's talking about, it's because the fucking...
That sounds normal.
It's because the turf cunts, of course, have gone after her because she's partly responsible for something called the Equal Treatment Bench Book. It's basically like a manual on like how to treat people as the judge as they appear in court. So she wrote a section to deal with trans issues, pronouns, or names, all that stuff. And she said, you must refer to people, including suspects, who come into your courtroom by their, pronouns and then the gender that they present as they wish to be addressed. Mm-hmm. So then the TERFs, of course, have gone in and said, well, what if a trans person is a rapist and then you still have to refer to them by their new name? So then it becomes, trans women in women's prisons and so on and so forth. And this has reached such a fucking point that like a senior civil magistrate thinks that she can no longer, function as a again, not a low-lying magistrate, not like someone in but like a senior magistrate in the London courts.
Yeah. This has reached such a point that Helen Joyce has to read Harry Potter Grot on the train.
Yeah.
It's for research, Jamie. It's for research. I don't see what the problem is. It's just for research. She's only doing research. She's doing research, in fact, to how...
Was it?
Yeah. She says it's doing research into how trans groups use fan fiction to indoctrinate children, among other things.
Sure it was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Never mind that it's
don't believe a fucking word of that.
No, me neither.
You know what I mean?
Anyway, like a little bit more from Victoria's resignation letter. Rosa Parks' choice of seat was political because of the colour of her skin, she added. More prosaically, for me, I am now every time political when I choose to go to the bathroom. Less prosaically, the judiciary, by continuing to let me be a judge, is now at risk of being political or being politicized. So,
I mean, it is kind of funny, the idea that the judiciary isn't political inherently, but I do understand the point she's trying to make.
I mean, as a civil magistrate, the judiciary is not supposed to be. I get the contradiction and so on and so forth, but yes, judges make political decisions. They do, but the choice of where a judge goes to the bathroom should not be anywhere fucking near that. That's not.
In another job, you'd call this constructive dismissal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I should also say that before she was outed, and this was quoted a few times as by a national newspaper. I don't know which one. I'm obviously not going to look that up.
I'll take your fucking pick. They're all culpable.
They're all culpable, and they can all go, to fucking hell. So she just served as a normal person doing her job as a judge until some fucking cunting, paper outed her for no good reason. And then, afterwards she said, yes, I am who I am, and I want some visibility also for trans kids and other people to see that, it's just normal, I'm just a human being, everything's fine. So, after which she became a bit more prominent and a bit more in the public eye. But the instigation of that was not by choice. It was one of our fucking fine, guardians of the fucking truth. So it shouldn't be stated, but, and it's a point that November was making earlier on Twitter, but for trans people everywhere and allies and, just normal people who aren't Helen fucking Grot Joyce, it's just if a senior civil magistrate, someone, high up in the court system, in the, by any ranks, in the higher echelons of UK society, if even these people can be hounded out of their profession by a bunch of cunting turfs, what chance do the rest of us have if there's not a serious change in attitude? This is genuinely fucking disturbing shit. And I did the thing that I shouldn't have done, but I did it anyway. And I looked very briefly at, some of the comments on Twitter and in the comment sections of the papers that were writing about this. Oh, boy. And it's just wall-to-wall. You know what it is. It's just fucking wall-to-wall turf shit.
Yeah, I was going to say, we don't need to...
And I'm not going to repeat it because it's all fucking disgusting. But they're all fucking just revolting pig people. And I just, I wish for good lives and everybody, for most everybody and everywhere, except these fucking turfs. I really hope you all have the most hideously unpleasant. I hope you all fucking end up worthless and alone and buying a pasta pan for yourself. Just a shit day in Britain all round. Anyway, speaking of shit days in Britain, David, do you want to pick up the next bit? Because I think I will just get unreasonably angry.
Rob is incensed.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough.
Good news. I'll take us to the light and breezy topic of parliamentary procedure.
Oh, great! Give over.
Everyone, crack open your textbooks and turn to page 47.
Oh dear.
What does Hitman have to do with this?
So last Wednesday was the opposition day in Parliament, which is the thing that normally doesn't matter anymore because Jeremy Corbyn's no longer there to rack up an ideological kill count. So typically this is just a day where an opposition party gets to set out its own motion for Parliament that then everyone gets to have a vote on, and the government can try and amend it to save face, and none of it really matters anyway because none of it's binding on the government.
For example, Keir Starmer will say, Rishi Sunak, I love you, I want to kiss you on the mouth, and it will be amended to say, and also lick your shoes. So it's this nature.
And it never did matter, because it didn't matter how big a kill streak Jeremy Corbyn got ideologically. He would never drop the ideological nuke when he hit the 20, you know?
It did have a few moments, though, where you had like John McDonnell throwing the little red book across the table, which was in itself very funny, if maybe not
slightly weird, but not unfunny.
Okay, but like
we think that the red book actually was thrown by him, but what happened was part of his hand and skin melted and it slipped from his grasp.
The only way that would have been actually cool is if he'd like thrown it at someone's face.
Well, didn't George Osborne pick it up and go, "Oh, it's his signed copy" or something like that?
It was something like
I've taken a very specific cocktail of drugs and meditation so that I no longer have to perceive George Osborne. So you have to answer that mystery on your own.
But Jamie, you love his podcast. You're always talking about it.
He has a podcast?
Oh, I will threaten you with a good time, but that is still to come.
Don't.
Is that the name of the podcast?
Jamie looking at the Polaroid of Alistair, it says, "Don't believe his lies" on this one. Great.
So what happened on Wednesday last week was that it was the SNP's turn to put a motion. And the SNP put forward a motion to call for a ceasefire in Gaza.
Yeah, the SNP were just about to grab hold of the PlayStation controller when it was yanked recklessly out of their hands by the speaker.
Yeah, so what normally happens is the opposition party, whose day it is, gets to put the motion forward, and then one amendment is granted. That amendment is to the government, and then the amendment is voted on. If it doesn't get fucking chosen, then the original motion gets put forward for an actual vote.
Yeah,
what happened?
Which the opposition always loses. So it's like
Yeah, so functionally it doesn't matter, but the point is that a vote can be held on something and people have to put their name for, against, or I'm shit fear of doing anything.
Can't have that happen.
No, you can't. And you very expressly can't if the speaker decides that you have to fuck off and not do it for reasons which we will get into in a bit. So the speaker, the speaker, Lindsay Hoyle, who is a Labour MP, by the way, decided that the Labour Party...
he sheds all colour of partiality when he becomes a being of pure neutrality.
Sorry,
he's
I
not
couldn't
allowed
tell
to
any of that from you both. Pushing your glasses through your frontal fucking cortex.
Yeah. Lindsay Hoyle was last heard to say, "Tell my wife hello."
Yeah, Lindsay Hoyle had all of the blood drained from his body, lest it give anyone any illusions that he might still have allegiances to Labour.
Yes. So he decided that the Labour Party would be allowed to also propose an amendment, despite it being the SNP's day. And it was decided that the first amendment that we put forward would be Labour's. Which
is a lot of procedural wank, but it is like... it really is not supposed to be done that way for, the reason that opposition parties in the UK parliamentary system already have like the most bitch-made chairs in the House. So like this is like the only way they can maybe do like a mild thing, and then, they can't anymore. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. So if Labour's amendment was agreed upon, then the whole motion with that amendment would then be voted on. Meaning the original SNP motion as it was would never see a chance to be voted on if Labour actually managed to get away with it. Now, Labour would have got away with it, guaranteed, in a normal voting process, because it would have avoided everyone having to either not vote or vote against something that was actively a ceasefire. More details on that in a bit. Funnily enough as well, I was having a little look to see, I was looking to see where are the amendments. The BBC outright said on its website that if the Labour amendment was chosen, it functionally didn't matter because it was basically the same as the SNP one.
Was it, though?
I hate this so much.
Was it?
Well,
it's naked propaganda at this point. Just fuck my
100%.
life.
So the SNP's motion originally was that this House calls for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and Israel, notes with shock and distress that the death toll has now risen beyond 28,000, the vast majority of whom were women and children. Further notes that there are currently 1.5 million Palestinians sheltering in Rafah, 610,000 of whom are children. Also notes that they have nowhere else to go. Condemns any military assault on what is now the largest refugee camp in the world. Further calls for the immediate release of all hostages taken by Hamas and an end to the collective punishment of the Palestinian people. And recognises that the only way to stop the slaughter of innocent civilians is to press for a ceasefire now. Now that was the motion as it would have been had it not been amended and as it should have been pushed through. Labour deleted everything after the first 3 words.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. And then they just added some bullshit about how maybe we would like a ceasefire, but have you considered that Israel also has a legitimate right to self-defense, and if Hamas does one thing, it's actually okay for, Israel to just keep fucking doing genocide.
The Labour one didn't say anything about the self-defense thing.
So no, the Labour one said something about that obviously peace could only last if Hamas stopped fucking around or something.
Labour made it conditional, effectively. Yeah, they called for a conditional ceasefire in which Hamas should surrender, and that means that a ceasefire should be allowed.
There was a bit in the SNP one about how we should stop sending weapons. I think. I saw that.
I think that was the new one that they were going to propose, wasn't it?
That was, we'll get onto that in a bit, but it wasn't in the original. The
enough.
Tories one was somehow worse than Labour's and just uses the entire thing to screech about Hamas and nothing much else.
Hamas mentioned.
Doesn't even say anything about a ceasefire, but then it refers back to its humanitarian pause shit.
Oh, are we going back to this, are we? Okay, cool.
Yeah. So what happened was everyone got very fucking mad that the Labour amendment was even being allowed to be taken on. Rightly so. And the Tories and the SNP both walked out, and the Labour one passed unanimously without a vote.
Yeah, because nobody else was in the room.
Yeah. That was it. It was unchallenged.
Well, that just sounds like a sign of how well Keith has united the party under his sterling leadership.
Well, that's the reason the Tories were raging about this, because they would have had to vote against something with a ceasefire on it, but they would have happily done that shit anyway. The whole reason they're raging about it is because it allowed Starmer to sidestep what could have been a really dodgy rebellion for him. Because that motion originally that talks about the collective punishment of the Palestinian people, which is a war crime, has previously been supported by Starmer. I was going to
say it's a war crime that he specifically said on fucking radio that was fine, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. That was actually okay for Israel to cut off water and electricity. Yeah.
Audio-visual records exist. I have a button dedicated to it.
No, they don't, David. And no, you don't.
Israel does have that right.
The vote, in effect, would have been, had it been successful, a vote on a roundabout way of saying our leader actually loves war crimes. So obviously that had to be avoided at any fucking cost. The party would have been wrecked on the altar of claims of anti-Semitism, which the SNP motion presumably was to fans of war crimes. And for all the trouble of this and winning that, he is now potentially getting put in front of the Standards Committee. And the SNP are also calling for... Not that it matters, the SNP are also calling for some independent fucking inquiry into it, which, again, it's the SNP, so it doesn't matter what they say, because they just simply won't do anything with it.
I think independent inquiries should be headed by the Punisher.
I support this very, very much.
I just like the cut of his jib.
A couple of days ago, the Speaker then decided that he would have a do-over because he's obviously got it wrong and felt very bad about it. Less than a couple of days ago, he then decided that he wouldn't do that, actually. So, it's not really necessary anymore because the government said that they were ready to make a relevant statement, so there wouldn't be any need for an emergency debate. And the statement was, we would like a humanitarian pause, please.
Yeah, I mean, all of this. All of this is a lot of like parliamentary wank, and I know if you're listening to this, I know, like, all of us know. But like, this shit. It is right that the SNP is fucking livid about this, and it is like, because specifically on this point, when like, people are completely right to be fucking pissed about Gaza and correct that that something genuinely needs to be done, and there are legitimate reasons to say that specifically the UK should be doing things, because like the UK, we can't make the Israelis like do anything. That's entirely correct.
No, but we
like,
could stop giving them guns and bombs.
Abstaining on votes in the United Nations.
Yeah,
those things are literally not possible, I'm afraid, and it's just mature, grown-up politics to abstain on anything that is possibly going to cause an end to a genocide.
Mm.
It's just the moderate stance.
Yeah. So on the government side of this, this whole thing has been used as an excuse to be a bit more crackdowny and authoritarian, which is always cool and good. It did have at least a funny result of Lee Anderson feeling braver than usual and then getting suspended for it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that fucking 5p prick. I mean,
What did he do again exactly?
Oh, he did
said the quiet
whole
part loud.
Yes, he said the quiet part loud. He accused Sadiq Khan of being in the pocket of big Islamism.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. So a big part of the excuses used for the kind of crackdowny stuff is that obviously MPs are just small beans who feel threatened all the time now. For example, Labour MSP Paul Sweeney's office in Glasgow was stormed by some older folk that were holding signs in a corridor.
Yeah, I mean, that was fucking wild. He was like, my office is under threat from, I think he came within hairs of saying, Islamist thugs. And then they posted fucking pictures of it.
It was so funny. Yeah, it was so funny because he was like, my office was stormed. People were like, you're not really under any threat here. And he's like, tell that to people in my office, which was stormed earlier.
Yeah, it was just a bunch of white middle-aged folk. Like,
it was just some
they looked like fucking party staff.
It was a bunch of people that looked like they get the discount cod at the fish and chip shop.
Yeah, it was just like
it was just a bunch of old people. But like, and he was like, well, they got past 2 security doors, and it's like someone held it open for them because they're old people.
Yeah, like they looked like. Who I imagine exactly who they are, which is like people who've been, just nice, kind old people who've been,
I mean,
a member of Stop the War for like 20 plus years.
They were wielding placards made of machetes, so like you need to bear that in, you need to take that in mind.
Yeah,
like it's
having your security owned by people letting some old folk in is amazing. Where are your British values now, Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sunak put out a statement with. I'm going to read part of it. This is fucking just.
The thing is, though, what we need is a law that stops you from taking photographs of people in MPs' offices, and then that'll never happen again. Because like the protest sounded a lot more menacing when we couldn't see it.
Yeah, turn every MP's office into a fucking black site. Why not?
Yeah.
Sunak put out a statement. Legitimate protests hijacked by extremists.
Go fuck yourself, legitimate
terrorism.
Protests.
Elected representatives verbally threatened and physically violently targeted. Okay.
Targeted but not attacked. Interesting use of language there.
And anti-Semitic tropes beamed onto our own Parliament building.
Beamed.
And in Parliament... Yeah, beamed, yeah. And in Parliament
straight
this
from
week,
the Starship Enterprise to the side of your clock tower.
Oh, because this is because somebody beamed from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free on fucking Big Ben. Yeah. That's, nice that is now officially recognized. I mean, I know this discussion like 7 weeks old, but nice that with this just now saying, oh yeah, that's anti-Semitic. by nature.
Yeah,
just
you need
have the government.
you need
have
to
the government
commit
considered-
anti-Semitism to accuse people of anti-Semitism. That's how it works.
Have the government considered just making Palestinians a prescribed terror organisation?
Almost fucking certainly.
Yeah. Like, what if we just weren't allowed to, like, say the word anymore, you know?
Well, you see, they're aiming to make them
The
stateless
government doesn't
people.
like it when you can't say the word.
Yeah, they're aiming to make them stateless people. Like, what's her name? The person we stripped citizenship from.
Shamima
after she
Begum.
was groomed.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, they've set up the framework, essentially. You know, it's in progress, so give it time.
Continues, and in Parliament this week, a very dangerous signal was sent that this sort of intimidation works. It is toxic for our society and our politics, and is an affront to the liberties and values we hold dear in Britain. Our democracy cannot and must not bend to the threat of violence and intimidation or fall into polarised camps who hate each other. It is 2024.
Jesus fucking...
Yeah.
Just,
Do you know what else is toxic for our society? Is dumping fucking waste in the water.
yeah, no,
Yeah, but that's good.
no,
Like,
that's
letting people live in houses that are made 99% out of mould.
Yeah, but that
Having
1%
it- having, like,
with
having
1% mortgage, that's a 1-to-1 ratio,
Engineering
baby.
the fucking economy so it costs like £8 to buy a loaf of bread. All of these things that I would put are more toxic to our society than MPs being asked questions
Yeah, but that's the
by
point.
some
though.
kindly
Like,
pensioners.
I think the
society,
issue,
as far as MPs are concerned, is literally just the bubble that they exist in. And I don't mean that in some fucking the newsagents Westminster bubble fucking pish. It is that like little bubble
Class.
of the elite. Yeah, it's class. It's where these people fucking exist and only exist within. Any sort of intimidation that is working is a direct confrontation and contradiction of the order in which society functions. They cannot possibly allow it. The minute that people are more accountable as MPs or representatives of a democracy than the system is supposed to allow, then there are actually problems, and those are the things that need fixing.
Yeah. Well, it's just us fucking ignorant peasants who don't understand that, like, you know what I mean? Like, supplying housing and making sure people can afford to live is not, like, the government's job. The government's job is to be invited to football matches and have, like, 10 grand donated to them so that they'll fucking give up on, like, major ticket policies, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're also like, they know what direction their policies are taking the country in, and what they're trying to do and succeeding in doing is just dismantling all of the legitimate process and all the rest of it, so that they are well prepared and have like skilled up and prepared their police force.
They have prestige,
so that
yes.
when things, so that when they reach crisis point, they'll just be able to do really severe civil society crackdowns on anyone who steps out of line and complains that maybe the food shortages are bad. Actually,
Does anyone remember Dick Bobshaft?
I'm not
Oh,
going to
he's
forget
in The
him now.
Mandalorian season 3, isn't he?
No, John Woodcock is back in penis form.
Go fuck yourself, John Woodcock.
Yes. John Woodcock,
Who left the party under a cloud of accusations, I think the technical saying goes.
the edited version might go something like that. So,
Is he the
Boris Johnson...
No, that's a different lord.
John Woodcock fucked off to the Lords and was given a job by Boris Johnson, then PM, to review broadening expedited public space protection orders.
What?
Oh,
Yeah,
that
good
sounds
mode.
anemic. That must mean it's good, yes?
Yeah. So these were set up as it's basically like an exclusion zone for protest. The initial idea of them was, I can't remember if it was specifically for them, but I think it was mainly for, or at least they were mainly used for, COVID-19 vaccination centres to stop people protesting outside of them, and schools are like the kind of two big ones they're not widely used. Cops don't even like using them because it opens them up to too much fucking hassle. So,
so this is
We'll simply disband the police by overloading them with powers so that they become too like they will be crushed under the weight of their own power. It's the only way to be sure.
Yeah. Make the police leveling up like Skill Tree, the one from fucking Path of Exile, so they all just get sick and go for a different career.
So the reason that this was initially ordered, this review, was because Extinction Rebellion was a thing that the government cared about. We've since moved on from then because everyone has accepted that they can't do anything that's really meaningful. Yeah.
I can't get the image of a police officer like giving up on his career because he can't work out which patch to socket on his arm to show that he's fascist and get the bonus from it. Like, Jamie, you've done me brain damage with that one, goddamn.
He has since widened the scope of this, because obviously it's a pointless job now, to, quote, Islamists in the wake of October 7th.
Oh man, a solution in search of a problem.
He says, there's a serious and concerted effort by parts of the hard left, working with Islamist groups.
Are they in the room with us? Well, actually, they are. If you're listening to this, they are in the room with you.
Working with Islamist groups to present a sense of menace to intimidate MPs. MPs are scared.
A sense of menace is a serious downgrade in terms of threat, if you ask me.
Yeah. A denouement of Dennis.
Yeah. Beano's really lost it these days.
A vague apparition of concern is haunting Europe.
MPs are scared. It's having a really corrosive effect. Even if there is no direct violence, it's having an effect, and that's unacceptable.
I mean, that was all correct until the end. Although, I mean, maybe not the corrosive bit, but
it's just making it so much harder to enjoy like a bunch of fucking cucumber sandwiches in the private box at the football that you got in exchange for like fucking just like agreeing to pass a law that says it's legal to like work prisoners to death on a barge somewhere.
It is not right for protest to be effective. It's not supposed to be. We fixed that decades ago.
Yeah. If those like millions of people marching for rights would each chip in £1 to get like fucking this guy a box at the football, that's the correct way to go about things.
Yeah.
I mean, I do want to also add before we move on to something else, the fact that the Gaza protests every Saturday across the country have been like MPs are complaining that that all of these protests are tying up police resources. Making the police exhausted, costing loads of money to protest all of the. Yeah, I know it's a real crying shame that the protests are fucking working by building pressure on various parts of the establishment.
Are the poor widow police officers too tired to sit on their fat fucking ass and give you a crime number?
This is a funny like. Unintended side effect of giving the police too many powers. So we've criminalised various aspects of these protests, but it's down to you, the police, to spend your resources in order to attempt to enforce all of these completely insane anti-protest laws that we've now implemented.
Have the police considered like fucking constructing additional pylons? But no, did I see someone this week, or did I dream it, that someone had said that like the protests were the reason knife crime was so bad in London because the police were just too busy chasing protesters around.
You did see that, Jamie. That was a thing. Someone did come away with that.
Hordes from stabbing people.
Well,
surely if they were Khan's hordes, they'd be using bows. Never mind.
Well, that's where we are, and that's where we're going. Now,
the rolling plains of Walthamstow, where the little sturdy battle ponies of like the London knife wielders live. Yes, all right, cool.
Okay, so now let's get completely off that topic and instead read an article. The article is Death and rape threats, bricks through windows. MPs must be able to serve without living in fear. By Stella Creasy MP.
Fuck off, Stella Creasy MP.
Okay. Our febrile political culture cannot normalise the idea that politicians' homes and families are
hold
legitimate
up.
targets for
I'm from the Red
protesters.
Wall, and someone's going to have to explain febrile to me.
Oh, she misspelled feeble. Don't worry.
I'm just a simple, humble country racist, and all I like is the racism, and that sounded like fancy talk.
It's fine. This was in The Guardian.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
okay,
as,
well,
This
it's
is for
as
sophisticated
For
racists.
me, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Does that mean I can have the
Okay.
rest of the night off?
No.
Yeah. We have a separate version for you. It's Mr. Man Goes to Parliament.
Yeah, if you
Which
thought
Mr. Man?
thought you could escape this crab bucket, Jamie, you thought wrong.
Which Mr. Man? I need to know.
Depends whether he's going to the House of Lords or
If
not.
it's that prick Mr. Rush, I'm not reading it.
Mr.
It's
Top
the
Hat and the
thing-
Gambling Council.
It's the thing every MP feels, but it is increasingly
Accountability.
becoming. But it is increasingly becoming an occupational hazard. The brick hurled at the office window. The rape and death
She got
threats
such a
that arrive
fucking
in the
bee in her
post.
body about one thing that happened one time, and it wasn't even what she thought it was.
No.
Yep.
Like that
So,
happened.
hang on,
Like,
before we proceed, what happened? Actually fill me in on what happened with this brick, right?
It
'Cause I
was a
don't really
Labour MP
remember
called
it.
Mary Cray in Wakefield, and it was like I can't even remember what it was, but it wasn't like a straightforward somebody threw a brick through a window. It was there was really weird shit going on there. Like there was.
Was that the one? Was that the one where like, oh, they put a brick through the office window and it turned out to be like the fucking?
Was it wee Bams?
There was someone had just smashed a window on the like fucking entranceway to the building where their office was.
Yeah, or they were claiming that like a brick was thrown through the window, but all the glass was on the outside. Like there was some really weird shit going on.
I mean,
yeah,
a brick,
that
brick could
was
still
one.
have been thrown on through the window in that case.
Anyway. The brick hurled at the office window. The rape and death threats that arrive in the post.
That
Angry
escalated quickly.
voices. Yep. Angry voices abusing you, it de-escalated quickly. Your staff or your family, both on and offline.
Oh no!
I hate to just be like a bit, outre and out there, but if you're a fucking Labour MP and like you live in where I don't know what the numbers are, but they're sky fucking high. It's like 80% of Labour members want like a ceasefire now, don't care about, retaliation arrests, just fucking stop fighting, stop the fucking genocide. If your position is to turn against 80% of the people in your party and like 70% of the general electorate, why are you surprised the people who like presumably went door knocking for you are fucking livid at you? Why is this a surprise?
Those people are already in the party, and so they can now be safely ignored. What are they going to do? Leave?
They should.
How dare they?
That's the wrong
years-
tack, Jamie. It's good. That's the right answer to that.
Yeah, shaking off fleas, I think they called it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
In recent years, I've experienced all of these things, and I know I'm not alone. Public life is drowning in hate and violence and harassment towards political representatives.
This is gonna be like some fucking. Do you know what I mean? It's gonna be like, oh yeah, there's like so much fucking like hate on online from like hate mobs, and it's like it's gonna be like fucking just normal Twitter users, isn't it? It's gonna be a bunch of people on Twitter who don't know who Stella Creasy MP is or what MP means because they're all in a basement in Montana somewhere wanking off to like Pepe the Frog memes, and do you know what I mean? They called us some kind of like fucking slur because that's just how Twitter operates.
It's also like, I mean, you've hit on it, Jamie, because I've been sitting here thinking, okay, which direction of a political spectrum did which acts come from here? Because we pretend it's like a monolith. It's just like, society is in decline. It's also violent and hateful. So it's like, okay, which direction is this abuse coming from mostly? Because I'm going to place a bet that a lot of this stuff to do with like sexual assault, etc., is not fucking coming from the left. Just on average. I'm going to place that bet, frankly. I don't think Diane Abbott is getting a lot of racist abuse from the left. Let's put it that way.
It's going to be like that thing where, like, was it Margaret Hodge, like, personally fucking put in like 500 complaints during Corbyn's
Yes.
leadership about
it
like
was.
Labour members being anti-Semitic, and she just found 500 comments on Facebook, and she didn't know who any of the people were, or let alone whether they were actually fucking Labour members or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Should just turn off the internet. You ever think we'd all just be happier if the internet just got turned off?
Oh god,
It
yes.
wasn't. It
Like
wasn't.
a mothership descended from the sky, and they just like some fucking green bloke got out and just went, "We're taking this back. You can't be fucking trusted. You can have it back when you learn to behave." Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, I now remember who it was. I almost got it wrong, but this was like a long time ago now. It was 2008. But even in 2008, like that fucking piece of shit Harriet Harman like went on a walk in her own constituency, I think, of Peckham, and then like walked around wearing a stab vest while escorted by 4 police officers for a walk in her own fucking constituency because, you know, she wanted to highlight the issue of knife crime.
That's popularity you can't buy.
Just go fuck yourself. Oh no, actually, I found the buddy quote. This is incredible because, like, she was, you know, let me just read you the paragraph. Gordon Brown was forced to defend Harriet Harman, leader of the Commons, da-di-da-di-da.
Forced to.
After she made things worse on the Today program, that explaining that wearing the anti-stab armor was courtesy to the police officers she was with, adding, "It's almost like if you go to a meat factory, they give you a white hairnet and nobody thinks you're going to make a meat pie."
Oh, so it
Deputy
wasn't
leader of the
first.
Labour Party for a long, long time, by the way. And
She
another
was
one of these
so
people,
stone cold stupid.
Get
like
the
Stella
fuck
Creasy.
out of here.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, David, continue on.
Public life is drowning in hate, and violence and harassment towards political representatives is increasingly being normalised. Unless we take responsibility for addressing this, the outcome will not simply be that the loudest voices and largest wallets win. Democracy will lose.
So here's the
my
thing.
Fucking Christ on fire.
Did you know that the spending cap for political parties is being raised by 80% from 19.5 million to 35 million? You know?
Yes. Further reason that you should not expect a Labour victory.
Well, it's also like you're so concerned about money in politics. Really? Really? Because surely you should be decrying, you know, that rather than, I don't know, people showing up at an office with placards.
I have news for you, Stella, about the winning status of those with the largest wallets in today's democracy.
Yeah, I would simply look at the campaign of Keir Starmer for leadership if you were talking about dark money in politics.
Read back that line about the wallets.
Unless we take responsibility for addressing this, the outcome will not simply be that the loudest voices and largest wallets win. Democracy will lose.
Yeah. I think like, that's a dig because, like, you know, the people fucking complaining about money and that, and it's like, oh, well, you know, if you don't settle down, you're just making things worse for yourself with your foolish, childlike ideas about how people shouldn't be able to buy politicians.
But what a weird like line comparison of loudest voices and largest wallets. Like, are they equivalent? Are they the same thing? Are the people who are like demonstrating against the genocide in Gaza the same people who are like slushing dark money into election campaigns? Is that like is the other point then that if neither the loudest voices nor the largest wallets are supposed to win, and let's say they're equivalent, they're not, but let's just say for the argument that they are, so the only people who are, according to Stella Creasy, fit to vote in a democracy are the people with indoor voices with some money but not too much of it. So, like, Guardian readers. I mean,
that's
yes,
centrism.
Of course, but...
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And like the thing about loudest voices, the loudest voices do already fucking win. It just so happens that those loudest voices are the ones that are backed by the largest wallets. Like,
yes.
Look at the TERFs. The TERFs have fucking so much funding. That's why their voice is so loud. There are 12 of them, and yet all we ever fucking hear is their bullshit.
Also, on the counterpoint, there's legitimate conspiracy theories being spread about how all the Gaza protests are being funded by foreign states to gin up dissent within Britain, and that it's actually it's foreign action to undermine the stability of the nation.
Yeah,
like,
it was ever thus.
Thank you, Mr. Putin.
Yeah, before Putin it was like fucking Soros, and before Soros it was some other fucking prick, probably.
It's now President Xi
Stalin.
because the fucking because China had the temerity to back the recent court action.
Oh yeah, that was
against
really
Israel.
funny when they came out and used all the international rules that the order's based on to tell people that actually this is what's happened, and everyone got really mad at them for citing those same international rules that we love.
The way Stella Creasy says loudest voices and largest wallets is those are the bad things at either end of the political spectrum. So like at the right, you've got the largest wallets because everyone just pays for there to be like more fucking like hate crimes. And at the opposite end, you've got like the dreaded popularism where like millions of people go on a march and that's just intimidating. And then in the middle, you've got the quiet voices and small wallets of the nice centrist people who should be allowed to manage the decline forever.
You'll be glad to know that was the first paragraph.
Fuck off.
She might as well say democracy belongs with those with wallets small enough to inspect. Fantastic.
Yeah. Democracy belongs with, like, you know what I mean? The nice indoor voice wallet people like her parents who got her a job, if I remember right.
Hey, now
right,
they're
yeah.
really busy literally running the local Labour Party in Walthamstow. They just do that, out of service for you.
She's the chosen one.
Yeah. They did it all for you, Stella.
And for what?
Yes.
We raised the biggest dipshit in British political history, and all we got was this lousy constituency office.
Publicly declared, anyway.
Right, brace yourself for the fucking inevitable. Every MP has not just the shadow of the deaths of our beloved friends David Amos and Joe Cox looming in on our thoughts, but also knowledge of the day-to-day violence our colleagues experience.
Day-to-day violence. If there was day-to-day violence against the fucking cunt hive that is the House of Commons, we would never hear the fucking end of it. There would be... This is a fucking society awash with videos and cameras and everything. If there was violence, actual violence committed, you would hear the fucking end of it. It would be daily wailing.
Didn't you see Paul Sweeney's video?
What they mean by violence is people asking them to, like, fucking, like, be better.
It's
And
people
we do, in
fucking
fact,
atting
never
them.
hear the fucking end of it, yeah.
Look, we've established that a sense of menace to intimidate is equivalent to harm to a person. So,
Sorry, as an important point, right, that I saw someone making on fucking social media like last week, what was it that Joe Cox's killer was, like, yelling as he killed her? And
Nothing.
like,
He was a quiet gardener.
and what sort of paraphrase of that slogan is now on, like, fucking Labour membership cards?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
If you want to talk about honouring a memory and so on, you know?
Yeah.
I don't need to agree with Tobias Elwood or Mike Freer, that's right, you don't, on
Although I do.
policy.
But you do anyway.
To know that a line has been crossed when their private addresses and constituency offices have been targeted, and they are not alone.
aren't constituency offices definitionally public record?
Yeah.
I've walked like by a bunch of constituency office. They're full of posters saying this is the constituency of so and so. That's part of the point. They're supposed to be fucking billboards.
The issue is not that people know where it is. The issue is that people went there and like asked them to do things. I assume.
Yeah,
when she
but
says targeted, I'm pretty fucking certain it's not going to be a drone strike. Do you know what I mean? I'm pretty certain it's going to be way down the other end of the spectrum of terrible things you can be targeted by.
The way a constituency office is meant to work is it's meant to be open at a designated time in a month that no one can really attend, and you have a staffer sit there and they receive anyone who comes in and they ask what you're here for, and if they say that it's something that you don't want to talk about, then you say, I'm sorry, their appointments are all filled today, can you come back? And in practice you only ever bother seeing people who you want to listen to, so you can show that you're doing some good, take some photographs and put that in your election literature material next time round. That's it. That's the constituency office. And when you actually, have people showing up with demands, that's not good. That's anti-democratic.
That's beyond the pale, though. You're not supposed to demand, you're supposed to vote once every 5 years as prescribed.
Yeah. And if you don't vote, we'll just have to kill even more Palestinians.
Yep.
And then then how will you feel? You might be mad about Joe Biden supplying all those fucking bombs, but Trump would give them an extra bomb for free.
Yeah,
Because he's
just
king of
like
deals,
that.
you see.
Yeah.
As campaign groups seek to be heard, they are taking ever more incendiary directions. Just
Because
Stop
you don't
Oil-
listen. Look, like, I'm really fucking sick of this shit. It's like, why do you think people, civil society, campaign groups, the Stop the War Coalition, the, climate protesters, student protesters against these, why do you think they're taking ever more whatever directions? It's because you fucking cunts in, once again, the cunt hive that is the House of Commons, don't listen. There's like super majorities even among the Tories for like nationalizing the fucking water, energy, rail, mail, water, the fucking post office. It's because you cunts never fucking listen and actually have the temerity to turn around and say, actually, all this protest is violence, and me fucking privatizing your nan's carcass in her graveyard and us selling it for parts to Serco is good, actually. It's, listen, you utter pricks.
Yeah, it's something like that, yeah.
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 Which reminds me, actually, like they should, instead of privatizing Royal Mail, they should sell it to Jeff Bezos for £1.
Fuck off. Fuck off. No. Just Stop Oil stated to The Guardian that it would challenge MPs at their homes.
Good.
And protests over Gaza have happened outside MPs' houses, with
Good.
protesters daubing constituency offices with red paint.
Good.
Why?
Right, so red
What
paint is
link
now
could
violence.
that possibly have?
So red paint is now violence. So when who was the sixth chip cunt again? The big dinners guy. Gary Sandberg eats big dinners. Is that now political violence?
It is, yes, because graffiti is crime and all crime is violence.
Listen, the thing they really need to understand is that if spilling red paint is equivalent to spilling blood in terms of response it gets from the state, you're not disincentivizing people from spilling blood. What you're doing is getting them to go, oh, well, I might as well be, hung for the ewe as for the lamb. Like, I'm sorry, but that's hanged even. This is the direction this goes in. There's a reason all of these safety release valves of like civil protest were made. And as you get rid of them, as you crack down harder and harder, people increasingly have no fucks left to give, and if they're gonna be
have no options. They have
punished,
nowhere to go.
yeah,
There's no. Where the fuck are you supposed to take your political energies now? What the fucking
Somewhere
Labour
else.
Party? Can I wait?
Yeah,
let me just
join
sign
the
up for
Labour Party.
Let me just sign up for the Enough is Enough mailing list. Shall I now? Maybe something that will
Look, you can
get some
you can do your
fucking results.
You can do your protesting within the designated free speech zone, and you're gonna like it.
Yeah, and the designated free speech zone for protesting like Westminster decisions is like somewhere just
Scarborough.
south of the cliffs of Dover. Like where you just, all you're allowed to do is like fucking lemming yourself off the cliffs. Just
Politicians are used to people disagreeing with them.
no, they're
Are
not.
they? Not in
Clearly
this
not.
fucking country.
If they were, you wouldn't be writing this asinine fucking article.
I mean, no, the thing is, they used to people disagreeing with them in the sense of what she means is they used to just not giving a fuck about what the public thinks or wants.
Yeah. Indeed, few would wish to live in a world where they didn't.
Yeah,
What?
because the only world these people want to live in, we've covered it in the awards, but, we'll say it again, is the Polite Disagreement podcast. That's like that's the level of disagreement these people want to have. Stage managed in a studio, but never stepping outside the bounds of fucking decorum. You can be a mass slaughterer all you like, as long as you wear a top hat. It doesn't matter.
I do like how that was a very recently polished rule in the House of Parliament to raise those points of order.
Listening to those you disagree with is often the best way to learn,
No, it's not. Bullshit.
or to confirm you're on the right path.
There's what they go for.
Yeah.
A culture that tries to stifle dissent and arouses such anger is not just bad for politicians, many of whom are walking away rather than face the ignominy of wearing protective clothing to go outdoors.
Bullshit! I've never heard so much asinine piss in my life. The people who are walking away in droves are the fucking Tory MPs who know they don't have a hope in hell of getting re-elected. They're walking away now to get a cush job in a consultancy gig. They're not...
I love that the thing is, it's like, oh, it's not good for society when people try to suppress dissent. That's why we have to suppress so much dissent.
Yeah. Also, show me a single MP who doesn't love dressing up in this bullshit. I'm sorry. You give an MP the opportunity to wear a hard hat or a high-vis vest or any kind of
as we were just talking about with Harry fucking Harman.
Every MP is a Lib Dem at heart.
Yes.
They're all Willie Rennie.
Yeah. Just less
they
using
pale in
size.
comparison to the boy.
It's important.
Yeah.
It's important to note.
Every single one of them is lawful evil Willie Rennie.
It's important to note that, like, expressing your fucking opinion in, like, say in this case, a desire for like people to stop killing children, is trying to suppress dissent. Do you know what I mean? Because the MPs are the brave dissenters. Everyone in the country thinks you should stop killing children, but the MPs are there to say, "But have you considered arms sales?" Do you know what I mean? And like. No, you trying to say, you saying to them, but fuck the arms sales, that's you suppressing their righteous dissent. But them saying that it's legal for the police to drive a bulldozer over you if you try and like prevent climate change, that's just like, that's just a sensible, proportionate response to bring the children back in order.
Yeah. Or like, I mean, just like the what we were just talking about with the stuff with the SNP in Parliament, right? The Parliament is supposed to, be in the public life and everything. And then, when an actual bill comes up with an actual consequence of saying, no, you are doing, mass punishment, which is a war crime, then all of you people, like, can't wait to flip over the fucking, board and change the rules as far and as fast as you can, just so, like, Keir Starmer is embarrassed to having a vote where some of his MPs go against him. Like, are you for real now? This is just...
I hate to say it, but yes, she is.
I think there's also like an element where they don't want to have to take a vote against certain things because potentially if this ever does get to the point of there being like review the criminal actions of other foreign governments in support of the apartheid moment, that would be like what you would call Exhibit D. Yeah.
That's precisely why Starmer very specifically didn't want that vote happening, because he didn't want to have to vote down a motion that said the war crimes that I agreed with personally are bad. Anyway, it is also bad for the causes and campaigns that drove so many of us into public life and on which we want to see progress.
Which ones?
Like personal enrichment, handouts to your immediate family, things of this nature.
Parents need a new conservatory.
Parents need a new constituency.
Terrible problems like limits on on fucking what is it, fixed odds betting machines, terminals. Terminals, but terrible things. There was a fucking op-ed today in the Sun that might as well have been written by the pro gambling lobby about like how it would be evil to restrict bets on horse races, that kind of stuff.
I didn't know Tom Watson was back.
He never left.
Draconian efforts by the government to shut protests down have rightly been challenged, and indeed many of us have defended those who do disagree with us shouldn't do that.
Fuck
both
off!
in other political parties and in community movements.
Oh yeah, they've definitely defended people who disagree with them in other political parties. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah, like witness the fucking SNP member, or shit like I remember fucking Starmer whipping the Labour Party to abstain on the fucking that crime amendment bill that now makes like anything undercover cops do, including committing crimes and creating children, is now legal as long as like the Justice Secretary says it is. I really remember that fucking disagreement over draconian measures because you voted to abstain instead of against. Go fuck. Why is it just I know, right? It's a society awash in information and an overflow, and we all see too much shit for like our fragile human brains to handle on a daily goddamn basis. But why is it like? Why did this fucking clown assume that that nobody has any memory? Just
because you're not supposed to. Like that's the rules. You're not supposed to have any memory of a choice that was made by someone else outside of your immediate periphery.
They also get very, very mad whenever there's one of those sites that tells you their voting record. Like
yes.
they've been on record, ironically, saying that they hate all these voting sites and they think that there should be right of reply for them. Because, you need to hear important context about why it was necessary to bomb all the Palestinian children using Israeli Air Force.
And like it's also like further to the point of these MPs are just fucking cowards, considering the fact that they were when we were talking earlier about all this stuff with the SNP motion and all that shit, they were considering having parts of that all those debates in private. Something they've only that's only happened twice in like the last 100 years.
Yeah. What we are seeing now is not simply a livelier version of public life. You cannot have free speech if 50% of a conversation is spent living in fear that saying no will mean a risk of harm to either yourself or someone you love.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
So, wait, so if the members of parliament make decisions which impact the life and death of others, say a child in Gaza or, the bedroom tax, to take something more, UK local, or, a vote that dooms future children of Britain, like the extension of, oil and gas drilling rights in the North Sea, like both parties support, that's okay then, because all of us are allowed to cower. Yeah. Okay, just...
No, that's fine, because it's not... That's not an MP or someone an MP loves. Like,
True.
unless you're in that small sphere of people, fuck you. Nor is it okay for protest to become about persecution because you may or may not agree with an issue.
Eh?
What?
What?
I cannot be held responsible for my own views.
What?
Yeah, I actually am going to ask you to repeat that one, David, because I swear to God, I feel like it drained out of my head.
That makes no sense.
Nor is it okay for protest to become about persecution because you may or may not agree with an issue. Again, it is entirely, please do not at me for the things I have said and done.
Wait, so protests are okay if I may or may not agree on an issue, but
yes.
I'm assuming that it is up to Stella Creasy personally herself to say, no, this is now persecution. Like specifically in terms of case of Stella Creasy, because we've seen her do this shit before, is like when people protest or not even protest, but argue with her on Twitter, where she is all the time fucking name searching. She has a record of it. And then when people say, actually, here's not my aggression, but my well thought out argument as to why what you're doing is fucking wrong. When she says, actually, this is not the correct medium, I need this for casework. If you live in my constituency, please write me, a handwritten letter that I will then ignore. What is it that then? Is that persecution to at Stella?
Yes. It's persecution. Although, right, so you know that there are levers of power, right? And you want those levers of power to do a thing. It's entirely okay to say you want the levers to do a thing. It is not okay for you to ask the people with the hands on the lever to make it do the thing, because it's not their fault, you see, that they have the hand there. Someone placed it there. You placed it there, actually. It's your fault, the voter. So you shouldn't get mad at your own decisions.
Also, to be crystal clear on this, it's not fair of you to get mad at them when they say no.
Yes.
Yeah. Please do not contact her again.
Yeah. Wait for this one. Climate protesters picketing MPs' houses is no more acceptable than the threats I have received from anti-abortion campaigners. Those are the same.
Do you think there's some equivalence in her head between like the children who are living in Gaza and getting murdered and like unborn babies, and like it's, if both people are equally morally right for like, you know, believing in their issue, and thus, you know, like there's some kind of equivalence between those two examples? Because it seems like a pretty odd one.
Let's talk about the stupid thing that she said here. So, like, climate protesters and anti-abortion campaigners,
yes, are the same thing to me.
Is just ridiculous. But then saying that people outside your house, you, the elected representative, the person who was not forced in any way to take on this mantle, having to deal with some people outside holding some signs versus actual threats that you have received, those are not the same thing. They are not equivalent. There is no equivalence there. Any equivalence that you believe might be there has been developed by you and by people in your fucking sphere, building it up into that to justify not giving a fuck about the demands that people are making.
I've just realised that what they're essentially doing is showing the hand. They're revealing that the reasons protests work is because they're a threat of subsequent action, essentially. And, you know, they understand that's what protests are, not that they want anyone else to. And so now they're desperately trying to paper that over. Like, in their heads, it's like it's equivalent because they know where it leads, even though the explanation they try and give everyone else is that no, there's legitimate protest and illegitimate protest. A legitimate protest is protest that doesn't go anywhere, doesn't achieve anything, and isn't a prelude to anything else, and isn't a warning sign, is not a storm warning of what's to come. But in their heads, they're like, oh no, protests, they are like they're the public putting you on notice that there will be follow-up action, and we can't get the public to start thinking about it this way, even though we think of it this way. We just need to shut this down right now. It's just so illustrative of like the actual power dynamics beneath this shit.
The entire model of democracy is based on the consent of the people, right? At its core element, people are put in place at the consent of the people. That consent can be withdrawn at any point. Now, from that, there is a very loud part that you can extrapolate from that in the form of consequences if things do not go correctly. Now, that's not anything in particular. That is just the very nature of what power is in a representative democracy or any other form of democracy. So, all these people have done is their adrenaline shot up a little bit because they've noticed that more people are disagreeing with them, and that has heightened their senses. And that very, very quiet part, which in all countries on the fucking planet, Britain is possibly the fucking last one that will actually bother its arse to get off and do a revolution of some sort of violent type. And these people are hearing that shrieking through them like a fucking bat because the most mild inconveniences have happened to them. Like, they're almost willing the worst possible circumstances into reality. At this point, they are building their own fucking tulpa. Right, moving on. All would argue that their cause is so vital and important that such tactics are merited, but to allow these behaviours to become the norm for any is to enable it for all.
Bullshit!
Yes, you can't allow that, because then everyone would have an active stake and influence in democracy, and that's not how the system's set up.
Utter fucking just nonsense and horseshit that, again, super majorities of British people want there to be an immediate end to the fighting in Gaza and an end to the genocide of the Palestinian people. They are right to be fucking furious about it. And if we're going to flip it around and say, you know, anti-abortion campaigners, I don't know how many there are in the UK. Probably more than I think there are, but it can't be that many. It can't be that many. Or fucking TERFs. Let's take TERFs, for example, because I think Stella Creasy is reasonably okay on, like, trans rights, if I remember her correctly. Like, fucking Glitter is like couldn't fucking manage like a fucking protest outside Stella Creasy's house, or if this, it'd be 5 weirdos. The reason it could be 300 people outside your house is because more of the British people feel the same way. It is not the same thing. It doesn't have the same end results, even on a like practical level, let alone like a moral level, because there's things anti-abortion and wishing Gazan children to not be buried alive under the rubble of UK-made bombs they're not.
Yeah. The ultimate irony is that this behaviour is driving the closure of the public sphere itself.
Who's closing
with
it?
MPs being...
What?
Which sphere? Which public sphere? Is it the public sphere in which you inhabit, which has been very tightly closed off to all but those you allow in it? Is it that one?
Also, who's closing
with
it?
MPs...
Who's closing it? Is it me? Is it Jamie? Is it David? Is it you, Stella? Who's locking the door? Just so I have a sense of...
That's exactly what I mean. It is the MPs themselves. It is that fucking group of people whom are allowed to make decisions.
Because we forced them to do it.
Yeah, well, that's our fault, I suppose. Oops on us. With MPs being told they need to have security at any public meeting, no matter the subject, and not to meet constituents in person.
You see, if we had just been sensible and never expressed our civil right to like fucking dissent, they wouldn't have to take it away from us. So really, we're the ones to blame here.
Again, like, and as much as this might be, I don't know, bowing to the fucking whims of the mob or whatever, see if people would just vote in a way that the majority of people actually agree with, how much of this would be happening? How many protests would you have to be seeing if you had all just fucking collectively dealt with this and put a fucking vote on to get a ceasefire going?
But David, you don't understand. American foreign policy is to support Israel, and we can't go against American foreign policy because of the nature of international relations and our very precarious position in, with structural flow of capital these days. So I'm sorry, we just have to allow the annihilation of the Palestinian people, and that's the reality.
Well, if that's the reality of it, and there's no way to do it, I would simply have not stood for election and not put myself in this impossible position. If such a position is impossible, it was fucking foreseeable. And if it was foreseeable, you have only yourself to blame for putting yourself in a position to receive the ire of the public because of the decisions you are making. Like, this is how it works. It always comes back to the same point, that you, as an MP, have a conscious agency and you're choosing to do this with it rather than actively making difference where possible, or, trying to, in some form, if not enact, at least express the whims and wills of the wider British public.
And, not to put too fine a point on it, but, Stella Creasy, among the things she's famous for, apart from getting into fucking Twitter spats and, having her parents run the local Labour office, is, she's quite, if I remember correctly, quite proud, proud of the history of British feminism. I wonder if there's any history of British feminism doing something a little bit more outre, out there, than, standing somewhere politely in a corner of the park holding a placard. I wonder if there's any history or something that we could look at and say, what did they do?
We need to bring back people ringing bells near MPs.
When women wanted the vote, they simply voted for it. That's how they got the vote.
Yeah. And also, more seriously, that was good because it benefited her personally.
Yeah.
There's not a joke there. It's just that's how they relate to this kind of shit.
It's true. There's a self-interest involved in that one. And it's not to say that that's necessarily a bad thing, because as it turns out, a lot of self-interests are actually quite important, and the diverse nature of human society means that it's actually core to any sort of progressive movement that these things are listened to and acted upon. Perhaps there is a lesson in there. Whomst can say. Anyway, yet one of the best things about Britain's parliamentary system is that we expect our politicians to be part of the communities they're elected to serve. Yeah.
Bollocks.
Okay.
Not true.
Well,
they all live in fucking London.
Is.
That's why they all get second home allowances for houses to flip.
I've
do you live in your constituency?
I've got a radical policy that will satisfy Stella Creasy's desire for all this outrageous pressure being put on MPs, for that to be subsided somewhat, and that's to force anyone who wants to go to a protest or lobby their MP in person, they have to read one of these interminable Stella Creasy articles and give a report on what the contents of it were before they can do that. Because this has successfully drained every ounce of life that I had left in me before we started this recording.
Good.
I do love the write a book report in order to participate in democracy model we're moving towards. Yes, excellent. Great.
Yeah.
Finally, Rob and I will be the only voters.
Now that the Parliamentary Security Team request the details of your daily travel plans, when you'll be visiting your local supermarket or the pub, it's hard not to feel that something has gone very wrong.
Yes,
What
it
is
has.
it, Stella? What went wrong? What went wrong? Can you articulate it?
Do you know what this puts in my head? Fidel fucking Castro visited the United States, and while he was on the plane over, the press were like, so, what about the bulletproof vest you wear all the time? And he's like, bulletproof vest? I don't wear a bulletproof vest. And he literally opened his shirt and lifted up to show you his bare chest. He's like, I never wear a bulletproof vest. I have a bulletproof vest made of morality. And, yeah, that's it. That's literally, like, there is the solution.
Understandably, there is a real fear of talking about this problem among politicians, especially women, people of colour, and LGBT representatives who are targeted the most. We're told to raise concerns is to show we can't, quote, take the heat or we're seeking to avoid accountability. Now, there's something in there that is true. That's largely down to the culture of what Westminster is, which is a shaggers club for rich men. Like, that is absolutely going to be part of that, and I'm not going to say anything against that. That's true.
Yeah.
Indeed, Westminster has not acted with grace, thought, empathy, or inclusivity in recent years. MPs have found to be abusive. MPs have been found to be abusive or corrupt. Yep.
Yeah, checks.
Wednesday night in the Commons showed we can lose sight of what matters.
No,
That's
no,
certainly
no, Stella Creasy, Labour MP. You didn't at all lose sight of what matters to you. You kept that very firmly fucking focused in your sights.
Yeah. The subjects we deal with, economic insecurity, genocide and hunger, fundamental human rights, are messy, complicated, and nuanced. And our discussions are too often stage-managed, petty, and dismissive. Are they
Give
now?
me
6 paragraphs in, Stella. Are they now?
What's economic? Hunger. Yeah, it's real messy. Yeah, let's vote against. Let's be against fucking kids' school meals during Corona. We all remembered, again, cursed with memory. Going against the Marcus Rashford feeding the school kids first until we got too popular. No ifs, no buts. Kids back in school. That was really fucking messy and complicated, wasn't it? To let kids starve.
You forgot the nuance, though, Robin. That's why your argument just collapsed in on itself. Oops. But, last paragraph, by the way. The answer isn't to go low.
Go fuck yourself.
It is to reinforce the value of robust and reasoned democracy. That value being the proles don't speak to me in a way I don't like. And the proles don't get aggy when I don't do what they want me to. If we don't, only those who enjoy conflict and fear will go into politics. No, wrong, absolutely wrong. Perhaps you may find people who enjoy representing the majority opinions.
What if Parliament was entirely staffed by fucking Batman villains? Do you know what I mean? What if the Scarecrow was in there enjoying fear and conflict? I struggle to imagine how it could be any worse than what we have currently.
Yeah. It may make for entertaining viewing. No, it wouldn't.
Oh, fuck you.
It won't.
I'm so tired, but also angry.
Of the 5 of us, we're like freakishly some of us more than others pay attention to like British politics. I'm the only one of the five of us who occasionally like summons up the blood to watch half an hour of like PMQs or Keir Starmer talking live, and it's like,
yes, you're the only one. Yeah, the only one.
We can hear your fucking blood pressure from here.
Can I say it's not entertaining viewing? It makes me want to eat my own fists.
Yeah.
What about when they make funny little like one-liners at each other, though? Is that not entertaining viewing?
You know, in line with what Jamie
Only if
said
you're
before, it
Matt
makes me
Ford.
want to become the fucking Joker.
It may make for entertaining viewing, but it will lead to terrible policy making.
Oh no, what if we got terrible policies? What would that look like? I must have been dead the last 20 years.
You're all misinterpreting it because this is a threat.
Yeah.
Yeah. God help us. Yeah.
The floodgates are open and I've unleashed the hounds of hell.
Setting back the progress we've made in achieving a consensus around important issues such as net zero.
I'm going to become the fucking Two-Face.
What? What progress? The only progress is downwards. It's a constant agreement to do less.
But Rob, it is an agreement and therefore consensus.
I swear.
Checkmate.
The last, I know I mentioned it briefly before, but just the last thing these fucking morons agreed to when it comes to net zero, which again is about not boiling the planet. And I don't know if you've noticed, but this February, very, very fucking abnormally warm. The last thing that the Labour Party and the Conservative Party actually agreed on, like in full, was more oil and gas licenses in the North Sea.
Yep.
That's just sensible politics,
you're right.
though.
It would be horrible if we got terrible policy making, Stella. God, I wouldn't want that to happen.
Yeah, what a terrifying, brave new world it would be. Finding someone to scream at may make you feel better, but it is not a healthy political culture.
Do you feel better,
that's
Rob?
it.
Do you feel better? Does this episode make you feel better, Rob?
In future, if Rob's annoying us, we can just play this episode back to him to kill him.
When shock tactics become commonplace, the quality of public debate suffers.
Just an out and out
Rob's
risible
become
article
Dean.
from start to finish. Really, like you've really batted this one out of the park, Stella. Well done.
This has genuinely drained my will to live.
Yeah, it's so
We begin to lose the ability
there's more.
to have
Oh,
conversations with people we disagree with, to discuss contentious issues with constituents, and to learn to live alongside one another. And that surely is what politics is supposed to be about.
It's not.
Everyone back in your box, know
That's
your
what
place.
That's what I
Shut the fuck up.
partake in democracy for. All I want is just everyone to be able to live alongside each other. You know what I mean? I want politicians to get along and everything to be nice. And not at all for like, you know, me to be able to afford food and heating.
Yeah. Every day should be Christmas Day with your racist uncle.
Yeah.
Fuck me. Like, I'm borrowing a line from you know, we don't talk about the weather, so you know, just like but like politics isn't about
do it
being.
when a Stella Creasy article's the time to do it.
Yeah.
Politics is not about being nice to each other. It's like it's combat over scarce resources between different interest groups. Jamie wants to have a place to live and food to eat, and, you know, fucking Stella Creasy wants to, for all I know, maybe she doesn't, wants to give the fucking gambling industry a tax break. There's a conflict there.
It's completely insane that those two things are in conflict, but those are the facts.
Yep.
Like, have conversations with people you disagree with, fine, but like, whatever. And like, also, what are you disagreeing over? What is the substance of your disagreement? What, you know, how material is your concern? If it is like about life and death, about being able to have a dignified existence in one of the top 10 richest countries in the world, maybe it should be a little bit more fucking urgent than the fucking discussion that, you know, I would love to have, which is about whether or not natural wine is any fucking good. Maybe it's not the same stakes. Maybe it's not the same thing. Maybe not everything is just a polite fucking disagreement. Just... As we get further sucked into this fucking hellhole of a 21st century where everything crumbles before your very eyes and the planet boils to dust because these fucking carcasses don't want to move because they're getting glad-handed by fucking Shell and BP, maybe it's not the time to just sit around and talk about the quality of dessert forks.
We're in uncharted territory for Rob noises tonight.
Yeah.
I'm going to become the Victor Zaz.
Anyway, who would like some comment or commentary?
Oh, God.
No,
fucking
actually,
yes.
no, sorry, on strike. We're 2 hours into this fucker. Do we really have to do comment and commentary on top of
Yes,
Stella
we do.
fucking Creasy?
Yes.
We don't actually. I didn't prepare any. That was just a hollow threat.
All right, well, fuck you then. I was excited for a moment there.
So that was the kind of protest we approve of then. Okay.
I can't believe you would just like threaten us, you know, in our own very own
I can't believe
recording
that you
pod.
cowards didn't call us bluff like I did.
I am.
This
but
is
a
why
mere
only
mortal.
one of us is actually cut out for political office, Jamie, and unfortunately it's you. Oh dear.
No.
Well,
Bring back swords in the House of Commons. That's what I'm going to say.
so I was going to say I hope that was a fun and enlightening episode, but I know that it wasn't. Everyone is now both sadder and stupider for hearing it, so you are welcome. For more content which is better than this, but also sometimes worse than this, patreon.com/praxiscast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bonus is much more delightfully entertaining.
Yeah, you get bonus episodes every month. We've got a bonus episode that should have just come out, and that was February one.
Unless we forgot to publish it like last month.
Yeah, unless we fucked up, in which case, oops, our bad. So yeah, but you should join the Patreon. You will get access to that one and many others like it. Also, you'll get access to the Discord. The Discord is where we spend our off time screaming, and you should come and join us in that pursuit. And merch is available, praxiscast.tmail.com, and sometimes check out Twitch. Things happens there too. Twitch.tv/praxiscast.
I have a note on that, which is, assuming all goes well, Nico and I will be starting up doing some Elden Ring streams over the next few months, going into the lore of Elden Ring and generally preparing for a big stream in June when the Elden Ring DLC releases. So stay tuned for that, and laugh at us if it doesn't happen.
Mark that in your forward fucking memory for June. You'll be dead by then.
Yeah, it's a great idea to tell our, I assume, majority ADHD audience to plan that far in advance.
Yeah.
I don't
If
even
the
know what
three
June
heat
is.
waves we experience between now and then don't kill you, then tune in June for some streams.
Yeah, June is the
and
film
probably
that's
some
coming
stuff
out next
earlier
week,
than that
JB.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Worm.
Yeah, tune in then to hear about, like, what if there was a boss that, like, had a fucking hat or some shit, whatever the lore of Elden Ring is.
I don't
Assume it's
care
something
now.
like that. There's a tree,
Worm
isn't there, or something?
mentioned. Sorry, worm.
What's the lore of the worm, though? Does it have a hat? Does it have
Worm.
a tree?
It has worm.
Yeah, worm's about to come out. Worm.
Technically, to the worm, the Kwisatz Haderach is a hat.
If I apologise and say I won't ever do it again, can we end this bit?
Worm.
No, you've got to live with it now.
Worm.
Good worm. Good worm, everyone.
What you should have done, as everyone knows, is walked without rhythm. So
That is my favourite. That is my favourite Fatboy Slim track as well.
Worm.
Right, I'm Christopher walking out in this episode. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Christopher Werman.